Hey guys, it's Stephanie Grams. How are you today? So today is December 8th, and I went live yesterday, but I have that video. It's now hidden. So I'm going to edit some of it and then repost that. But I still went live, so it's still part of my 40-day challenge. So today's topic is how to start a sewing business and be successful in your first year. And my main business is right now is memory bears and sentimental sewing. So I'm just going to share my experience with that with you about that. And so a little background would include how I even got started in this. And some of you might have heard my story, and others of you um, probably haven't. So I have been sewing since I was 7 years old, and I was taught by my mom and grandma. And the first thing they taught me how to sew was those fabric yo-yos, also called suffix puffs. And again, I don't have one laying around here. I don't know where I put them, but I used to have about 1,000 of them. And so, I was about 7 years old when they taught me how to sew. And, over the years, I would pick up a sewing needle and make different things. I tried my hand at sewing or designing clothing. And, we did not have like money for a sewing machine for me or fabric for the most part, for the majority of my childhood. But the love of sewing never left me. So my mom always made sure that I had hand sewing products. And it's cheaper to keep on hand. It's smaller, it takes up less space. And you can be very creative with that. So the majority of my childhood was sewing by hand. And I would sew, I don't know if you see them anymore, but fabric panels. So a fabric panel, they're starting to pick up in trending and sewing in the sewing arena again. And I, for one, am very excited about that. And that can be like a totally different topic another time. But what I would do is I would take a large embroidery hoop and I would hand stitch, and I had other tools that I used for it, and hand stitch the outside of the shape or picture on that panel. And maybe someday I will find an example and show it to you. But my love for sewing never actually stopped. I remember feeling like the drive to make a difference with my sewing. And as I grew up and matured and had children of my own, I would make costumes for my daughters and play clothes. But I did not enjoy making clothes. I'm just going to be honest. There was something about it that just never clicked with me. I enjoyed sketching fabric or sketching fashion design, but when it came to sewing it and putting it together, I just wasn't interested in that. So over the years, I began making and creating what are called oak, OOAK, one of a kind primitive dolls or art dolls. And behind me, I have a scarecrow and a ladybug. Now, I designed those patterns. I drew them up, made them myself. They are hand painted, and the clothes are hand done. I made the clothes to fit, things like that. And I made decent money doing that for a number of years. The but something changed along the way with me. And yes, I still enjoy doing this when I have time. I don't make the time to sew those types of items right now. Um, but what happened back in, I believe it was 2017. I was working on an art doll. It was it was a scarecrow, actually, I believe, not that one, but a different scarecrow. I have a dozen different scarecrows I've made and sold to customers. They ordered them and they were never mass produced. So I happened to be working on this particular scarecrow for a customer, and I was just showing pictures on Facebook. And a stranger reached out to me and said, "Hey, I see that you sew. Would you mind making some memory bears for me? My grandfather recently passed away, and I need 5 memory bears made as Christmas presents. And I believe this was in mid-September, early October. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I can make these for you. I had no idea what a memory bear was. No idea. So I used my research skills and looked up different memory bears, and I did not have anything for a memory bear in my tool arsenal, whatever you want to call it. Maybe I shouldn't have used that word, sorry. But I had my sewing machine, 1 pack of sewing machine needles, two colors of thread. Had no idea what these clothes were going to look like. So I thought, you know what? This customer was going to mail these clothes out to me in 2 weeks. That gave me 2 weeks to learn how to make a memory bear, and learned it quickly is what I did. I made 5 memory bears before her order came in, and the memory bears I made were as gifts from using my grandmother and grandfather's clothing, and I made some memory bears for my mom. And out of my pocket, I went ahead and purchased the memory bear pattern. I actually was lucky enough to find one at a local store, and it was under $5. And I made several memory bears as gifts. So that way, with the end of that 2 weeks or 3 weeks that happened, I felt confident in the sewing skills to put together these memory bears. Once I did that, the orders started to just roll in. The customers would show pictures on Facebook mainly, and tag my business page in it, and then people would reach out to me about ordering these bears. And so I want to share a little bit with you how I did that, because at that time my husband was working full time. I was picking up odd jobs, like odd part-time jobs here and there. And I knew I didn't have the budget to invest into this memory bear project, because at that time I didn't see it as a business. I saw it as, you know what, here's my chance to make a difference with my sewing skills. It's not a business. I did not have that business name at that time. And so I did not sink any money into it. Now, what I did though is, when the customer ordered her 5 bears, I required her to pay half up front when she mailed her clothes. Otherwise, I was not going to start sewing. I wasn't going to do anything other than store the clothes in a plastic bin with a snap lid to keep everything organized and tidy, safe from elements, things like that. So the customer shipped her clothes, and she mailed them. She lived out of state. She paid half of the total up front, and I took that half, and it's in our contract. I have a contract in my book. The link to my book is in the description below, and I have a copy of that contract where it uses all the lingo and stuff. But anyways, that secured, it was a non-refundable deposit, and that secured her spot in my sewing calendar, because I was sewing for other people, just not memory bears. So her deposit, I went and I purchased another memory bear pattern, because I ruined the first one, which is why I give so many tips on how to preserve your patterns now on this YouTube channel. Save yourself frustration, headaches, and save yourself some money. So I went and purchased a second pattern, and with that I purchased the polyfill, the matching thread, additional sewing needles, and black embroidery floss, because this particular customer wanted hand sewn eyes and noses on these 5 bears. So that's what I did with her non-refundable deposit. Then I invoiced her for the remaining amount before I mailed them back. So when she paid the other half of what she owed me for the total of the order, I took that money, and that's when I purchased the mailing box, because I obviously, when you're mailing 5 memory bears back, it takes a large box. Also, I like to package my memory bears in a way that they are waterproof and safe. And I do share all of that type of information on my YouTube channel and also with my online classes. The link to my online classes are also underneath this video, as well as the free ebook I have at stephaniegrams.com. So I also have a blog and I have a podcast. So, anyways, that left me with some money left. And I didn't have a lot left after that order, but I was so thankful for the amount that I made. And I thought, you know what, this is definitely the perfect business to start when you really don't have a budget to use. Like, you don't have extra money to purchase a bunch of fabric and hope to sell items. For my sewing business, I am a certified green business in the state of Ohio. I don't want a lot of waste. All of my scraps, I finally donated like 30 pounds of scraps to the local secondhand store, because they are able to repackage those scraps into items that can be resold. And I do talk about selling your scraps, making money off of those. Again, I cover that in my paid classes online. It's just, there's a lot of ways that you can make a profit in your sewing business if you write out your plan and you prepare ahead of time. And that's one thing I love to talk about with my online students. I walk them through, making a profit, having a business, and not going into debt with that company. Obviously, there's all kinds of factors to think about when you're starting a sewing business, but I just wanted to share a little bit about my story and how I just literally, the memory bears fell into my lap. Um, I wished I would have known about memory bears and keepsake sewing or sentimental sewing back in 2001 when my youngest daughter passed away unexpectedly. That these memory bears would have taken on a whole new what's the word? I guess meaning for my 4 other daughters who were trying to grasp what had happened to their younger sister and why she wasn't here anymore and things like that. So that's another thing that I talk about very passionately in my online classes. And we meaning me and my guests, will be discussing a lot of this information on the Sew Sell It podcast that I've already launched. It's asleep right now, but it's relaunching. If you're interested in being a guest speaker, please reach out to me. The information on contact me is underneath this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm hoping to see you tomorrow, which would be December 9th, 2021. All right. As always, go to my blog, get your free ebook, learn more about all the resources I have to offer, and reach out to me if you have questions. Have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.